emergency broadcast on the channel. We missed a show yesterday. We tried to get Steve to do one, but he was busy as well. We were out and about, so we couldn't do a show. But hopefully we'll get a show off now. Trying to find, let's see here. Trying to find this live stream here, and it's not loading in on my trusty iPad. Now it's loaded in, finally. Let's see what we got. Oh, good. We got good audio. We don't have to do a restart. That's always good. It's always good when we starting out with good audio. Ken's first. He sure is. What, at 5:02. Stig is in the house, also at 5:02. This show is with very little notice. I literally just created the event at 5 o'clock, maybe 5:01. Just created the event, and that's why I had to start the show at a 5:05 start time. Of course, we got in a little bit early, a little bit of a pregame show. And let's see here, going to Facebook here. I'm trying to bring up a little thing we're going to talk about. A little thing. The old tried and true bad watch advice topic. And let me see if I can find it here. I'm trying to get it to come up on my Facebook. In the meantime, let's do a time check on these stunners. There's the 002 on the left, the 002 stunner on the left. It doesn't spend a whole lot of time on the bench. I'll tell you, that puppy likes to be on wrist. That 005 stunner is on the right, the GMT. And so there you go. Okay, so we're almost at 5:05. We'll start right at 5:05. Give folks a little bit of time to come in. Leon's in the house. You were not here yesterday, says Leon. That's correct. That is very observant of you, Leon. And let's see. So we're starting to get some businesses opening up here in Frederick County, so I'm going to be busy from time to time. I was trying to do the show every single day during the, quote, lockdown. The lockdown is starting to slowly ease up, thank goodness, and hopefully it will continue to ease up. Hopefully the pro-lockdown folks will not get their way, and hopefully the lockdown will fade away. Craig, what happened yesterday? I think I've spoiled you people being on every day. I think you've gotten spoiled there. Eduardo. So yeah, I've only been doing a show every day because of the lockdown. The lockdown is slowly abating, so we won't be doing a show every day. I'm trying to get folks to fill in and guest host when I can't do a show, but that's like pulling teeth. Cheetown's in the house. Tried Archeo Tallow Shave Sticks first try. A little difficulty on the neck due to not enough water, but a better shave than glycerin-based. Okay. Let's see. Jose in the house, and I guess that's Spanish. Somebody will have to translate for me. Craig, the news here is that the Brooks Brothers has gone bust. Can you clarify, please? Well, whatever happens with Brooks Brothers, as far as I'm concerned, they sold out their good name a while back and started selling a lot of marginal stuff. A lot of their suits were no longer made in the USA. A lot of their items were, offshore. Quality, I think, went down on a lot of their items. So whatever they do with this reorganization, I don't think I'm going to be buying anything from them anytime soon. Now, some of those shoes we talked about that were on sale that were made in England, some of them, I believe, made by Peel and Company, which is basically Crockett and Jones. Some of those are probably worth looking at. But a lot of the items they're selling, no, I think I would take a pass. I think I would go some different directions. Let's see here. Lance is in the house. Now, Craig, I think You are wrong about servicing. Rolex should be serviced every 2 years. By waiting to get it serviced, you offend the midgets and the midgets that polish the inside of the rotor. There you go. That's a good point. I was saying that if people want to have their Rolex serviced, I'd be happy to service it every year. And I'll give them a discount, $500 each servicing. And I'll guarantee my work. I'll guarantee my work. So there you go. Let's see. Eduardo, Craig, that isn't Spanish. Pretty sure it's Portuguese. Okay. Well, it's Greek to me. Triforce Rich is in the house. By the way, got the call for the James Cameron yesterday. It was a big surprise. I rejected the watch. Have my Spectre, and I'm very happy. Looks fantastic and doesn't look like an anchor on my wrist. I agree. I think the James Cameron's too big. Carlos is in the house. Okay. All right. Brazil called, and they're out for blood, Craig, because you mistook them for speaking Spanish. Well, I can imagine. They'll try to. The cancel culture. We probably will get this show canceled one way or the other. Triforce Rich is in the house. I think you'd approve of the Spectre, Craig. Haha. Continue pics I took yesterday. Okay, let's take a look. Okay. All right, so talking about bad watch advice, okay? And here's a thread, and I put the link in the description. This is a posting by Mike over at Horology Talk about Mark Goldberg, and he put a screen grab of a post that he put here, you know, just saying some stupid things, which is what Mark does, and talking about the Grand Seiko SBGA 229, which, you know, at the time that he bought that watch, I said, what in the hell is he thinking? Why would he not buy the 231? Well, the answer probably is he probably got the 229 cheaper. And, oh, I like a heavy watch. I like a heavy watch. I mean, all right, we won't get into the minutia of all that, but here's the thing. The bottom line is, of course, the guy gives bad watch advice. The guy has no taste, okay? He has no sense of style. He has no class. How could he possibly give good advice, right? I mean, this is like stating the obvious here. But this thread goes on and on and on. A whole bunch of people. There's 82 comments, okay? You guys should take a look at the comments. Again, there's a link to this. The permathread link is in the chat. But, you know, they pretty much lambasted him for this, for that comment that he made. And, I mean, I'm like, okay, hey. But people follow him. They watch his videos. So, I mean, that's the reward. He's getting rewarded for this, you know, bad watch advice that he gives on almost every video. So why would he not keep doing it? Why would he not keep doing it? Right? He's getting rewarded for it. People watch his show. They watch his videos. So if you really don't like the bad advice that he gives, don't tune in. That's the way you vote with your eyeballs and your ears. Right? I don't watch his videos anymore. I mean, they just got old real fast. I mean, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. I watched some of his videos, and I actually gave him some tips in the early days as far as straightening out his audio, and he did. He got a lav mic, and, you know, he did some things. But his content is just not worth watching. There's a lot of content out there that I would much rather watch. Okay, so Carlos says Spectre looks much better to me than the JC. Eduardo says, I think he said, good night, everyone. Something about Rolex for everybody and something about Brazil. Okay. Lance says, send a photo of a stunning gold Rolex. We'll take a look at that. And Carlos says, I tried on the 231 today. I've sent you an email. I have accomplished Craig's quest. I've gone to Grand Seiko AD. How many wrench points have I earned? Well, we'll have to see what the photos are like, Carlos. We'll have to see. The proof is in the photos. Leon's in the house. True fact, Portuguese is the most spoken language in South America. There are more speakers of Portuguese than Spanish in South America. Cool. Eduardo's in. We'll have to ask the lovely Brianna if she speaks Portuguese. I think she speaks Spanish for sure, but I don't know if she speaks Portuguese or not. We'll have to find out. Eduardo's in the house. Carlos, how do we redeem these French points? What are the prizes? Good question. Cheetown's in the house. I don't get why people like boat anchors on the wrist. The steel Submariner is a popular watch because it isn't overweight. Yeah, and it's nice and trim, relatively speaking, right? Of course, the GMT is a little more trim. That's why I went to GMTs and wore them for years, because they were a little more trim on the wrist than the subs. And I don't need the extra dive depth, right? Triforce Rich is in the house. The big reason Mark buys all those watches is that he is addicted to purchasing like many in the community, and that the watches hold their value or go up, so he feels safe. Well, yeah, he'll find out how that works out in the long run. He'll be he'll be even more broke than he already is. I'll put it that way, and that's not easy. It's not easy to go from broke to double broke. Triforce Rich is in the house. His idea that watches are investments are terrible. They can be great short-term flips or investments, but long-term, if you just hold on to them, they're not going to make good money. And in many cases, you're going to lose a lot of money. Triforce Rich is in the house. For example, if a watch gets discontinued and you sell right after, you can make a great profit. But long-term, these modern models are going to double. These modern models are going to double every 7. I guess you meant aren't going to double every 7 years. That's correct. They're not going to give a good return. Fellows in the house, I emailed you a few weeks back, FYI. Okay, to Carlos. Okay. From what I heard, most Portuguese speakers in South America don't speak Portuguese. Most Portuguese speakers in South America don't speak Portuguese. I think you meant don't speak Spanish, and vice versa with Spanish speakers. Okay, I got you. Sent you some pics. Okay, we're going to take a look. I liked the 231 a lot, but honestly, they should be something about the Clasp. Well, see, here's the thing. That is your first, oh, for crying out loud. That is always the first impression with the Clasp. That was my first impression. It wasn't until I wore it for a couple of weeks and actually used it, got it on right now, that I did a complete 180. I actually asked Steve, I said, can we switch this Clasp out? Can we put something else on there, right? I didn't like it initially, but now I love it because it turns out that it is amazing. Okay, all right, so let's go in the order received. Lance sent his first, so we're going to pull his email up first. Whoa, look at this puppy. Look at this puppy. Look at this. The Lancer. It's interesting how that has the gold threads that you screw down on. I've noticed some Rolexes that are gold, that portion is steel. You know? That's interesting. You know, it looks like that might be a little bit polished down. See how that pin is so close to the edge of that hole? It looks like that case might have had some pretty heavy polishing, I'm guessing. Not terrible. Not terrible. Pretty good amount of money. Not cheap. Not cheap. I still say that Brett's Datejust trumps that. Because it's a more modern piece. It's a 6-digit piece. I think it trumps it. Okay, let's see here. Aren't going to double yet. That's correct. Yes, I meant most. Okay, we got that. Jeepu, Dogman is not broke. He is a baller and has many Luxo cars and Rolex. Oh, I wouldn't bet on that. I wouldn't bet on that. I would say he's probably heavily in debt and probably has zero net worth, be my guess. So that's probably how that works. Wind Crasher 2007. What about Sea Dweller? It's a good middle choice between sub and deep sea. I don't see a reason for it, though. I don't see a reason why you need anything more robust than a regular sub. I really don't. I don't get it. Why does he dress like a slob then? Good point. Looking like a homeless bum is trendy in the USA right now. There you go. He's got that down. He's got that handled. Carlos, I really like the 60th anniversary 9F. Oh, I guess you do. I guess you do. They're pretty stunning. Talk about a heavy use watch, too. Eduardo's in the house, Cheetown, maybe because Spanish and Portuguese are very similar and it can get confusing. Carlos, is this the first time you've really looked close at GS's? You've looked at them before, right? Triforce Rich Craig, the Clasp is unacceptable for an aesthetics and feel of use point of view. No, this thing feels great. Look, I'm going to extend it. I just extended it, right? And I can just take it in one click at a time. See that? Or two. One click there, right? And then go ahead and take it all the way in. It works great, and it looks okay. It looks kind of heavy duty, which kind of goes with the watch. Remember, this is a 22 mil wide bracelet at the top. I think it just looks like a heavy duty clasp. I think it's only people that are obsessed with having milled clasps that don't like it. And like I say, there's no real advantage to have a milled clasp. If this one works fine and it's lighter weight and it's easier to use, that works for me. And so, you know, you have to wear a watch for a while to really know what it's like. Now, for a box watch, I agree with you 100%. It's all about looks and what it's going to look like on an Instagram post or whatever. Absolutely, positively, get something, you know, get a sub, you know, with that beautiful looking clasp. Absolutely. If it's going to be a box watch, I agree 100%. But if you're going to wear it every day, I want something that works better. I want something that is fully functional and works better. And like I say, it's on wrist right now. It looks fine. This watch looks stunning, folks. Let's get a close-up. Stunner alert. Stunner alert on the channel. There's the clasp. Looks fine. Yes, it looks heavy duty. But you know, a Series 3 Land Rover looks heavy duty too. But it's super cool. Let's pull that up. Let's pull that up and take a look. And I'll show you what I mean. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see here. Let's do a time check while I do this. Oh, for crying out loud. Let's try it again. Okay, here we go. This is a good one. I'll show this picture here. This is a good one. Okay, so there's a Series 3 Land Rover, right? And we use that for some heavy-duty use. Let me tell you something. I made trails with that thing. I ran over small trees and then backed up and pulled them out of the ground with the winch. I mean, we use that for heavy-duty purposes, right? And there's, of course, a Range Rover behind it, right? And, yeah, it's kind of a little bit of an ugly duckling, right? But, man, is that thing functional. Man, is that thing great off-road, okay? It'll go a lot of places a Jeep will not. We went sideways on some hills that the Jeep following me slid down the hill, and we had to winch it back out with the Rover because it had a higher center of gravity, and it just couldn't do what it needed to do. So, folks, sometimes it's about function. Sometimes it is about function, folks. And the function becomes beautiful because it's just so damn good. Okay, let's see. Craig, you should go on and on about how your nameless insiders in GS are telling you that the exact same model you own is going to be discontinued and how you are sitting on a gold mine. There you go. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Yeah, let's get that going. Tim's in the house. Guys, I thought I should share this. I was going through a box from my late father yesterday, and guess what I found? A 1962 Omega Seamaster DeVille, and it's still keeping good time. Whoa! Has it ever been serviced? What do you know about the history of it? That's pretty cool if it's never been serviced and it's still running good in 1962. That is pretty freaking good, I say. Like 50 some odd years later. Leon's in the house. GPR, I work with a guy who is highly paid and worth a lot, yet he is a total slob. Some people, absolutely. Some people that are well off do that on purpose also. Absolutely they do. But I think life is too short to go through it dressed like a slob. So that's what I'm gonna stick with that one. I was seriously considering the SD43. It would be the limit of the size without looking stupid on me. The Spectre looks better on me, though, and fits my personal style. Let's get a picture, Drive Force Rich. Send a picture. Let us make the judgment on that. Eduardo, I thought it was because of the fact that Brazil is so big that it is pretty much its own economy. Hey, Craig, send a link to a Speedmaster I'm interested in. I know it's clear. Oh, yeah, let me pull up the rest of these links. I'm getting behind on the he already sent the Spectra, and I didn't pull it up, so that was my bad. This looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. Yeah. I think it looks cool. I'm hip. I think it looks cool. I give it a thumbs up. We go back and pull up the next email. I think the Spectre is cool. And Eduardo, wrist shot. Hey, Eduardo, don't send me a video clip. Send me a still image. It's tricky to play videos when you email them to me. That's an issue. So try to send just a still image, if you will, please. And here is the Speedmaster in question. I've never seen one like this. Yeah, I think I would pass on it. I think it looks a little bit strange. I'm not a Speedmaster fan anyway, so I'm not a good one to ask the question. So it's different for sure. I think the hands look kind of cheap for some reason. They just maybe it's the photos, but they just don't look. Finishing just doesn't look. I don't know. Something didn't hit me right with that one. Let's see. He says, I know it's a complete dog. Triforce Rich is in the house. BMWs do use plastic parts and body panels, especially with hoses and water pumps. Carlos, get one to match my dad. Okay. Well, thankfully, we're here today. Kyle's in the house giving thanks. Tim, that's... by the way, Kyle, anytime you can give us a report, an update from the West Coast, we always are interested in what's going on the West Coast. Let's see. Cheetown, California, exactly. Why shouldn't you? Okay. Let's see. Yep, I'll stick with Japanese. German luxury cars are lease only. I hear you. And Japanese, I would specifically go with Toyota, really. I think that's the way to go. Or step up to Lexus. Lance is in the house. Tim, Lance seems not to need it. I will see how it goes. Okay, Carlos. I looked at them before, but since that time, I heard a lot of good things of GS. Okay. The poor TGV says, Rolex is great, but not good. Bang for the buck. For $6,000, would rather have an entry-level Rolex or a badass GS. Well, here's the thing. I said a long time ago, I had a show here, we talked about it. I said I would not spend more than $5,000 for a steel watch, period, full stop. If the watch is made of steel, I'm not going to pay more than $5,000. That's it. That's my limit. If I'm going to spend more than $5,000, I'm going to get titanium, something like this, or I'm going to go to gold, solid gold, and just be done with it, right? So, yeah, I'm not going to pay a whole bunch of money for a steel watch. I don't get that concept. I just don't get the whole thing about it. It's just not a thing. Let's see. Cheetown says, Craig, do you hear about this new company that is selling tailor-made T-shirts online? Talk about a waste of fabric and tailoring. I hear you. Kyle's in the house. Brett just landed in Mexico. Craig, do you have FaceTime, WhatsApp, or only Skype? I have FaceTime here. Maybe he can call in tomorrow or the next day. It would be better if he can get Skype working. It would make it easier. But we could probably do FaceTime also. You can certainly try it. Eduardo, what's Brett doing down there, and where did he go? Okay. Tell Brett to visit the Museum of Time, amazing little museum. Deport TGV. Maybe Brett can report on the border wall progress. Kyle's in the house. He flew into Cancun and will drive to Bacalar from there. He's just vacationing, getting away from the terrible humans in LA. I don't blame him. Is he going to be driving his Land Cruiser on that trip? Do tell. Those Rovers are super collectible now. There you go. I sold that one for $5,800. I paid about $3,000 for it, and I kept it for a couple of years. And then I sold it for $5,800 after a couple of years of hard use. It was a low mileage vehicle. It only had about 58,000 miles on it when I got it. Got it from the original owner. I like to buy garage kept one owner vehicles. And yeah, it was a fun beast of a vehicle. The just so you know that it's hard to see in this picture, but that brush guard the gentleman had made himself, and you can see it has an angle iron, quarter-inch steel angle iron on the top of the bumper. And then where the winch, the 8,000-pound Warren winch was mounted there was a big angle iron bracket that was bolted onto the frame members. And so that buttressed the whole thing, made that whole thing very strong. So we could literally run over trees that were about 4-inch diameter, not big trees, but about 4-inch diameter or smaller. What we would do is we'd run them over with the Land Rover and then back up, because we ran them over. That breaks the roots, right? Breaks the root structure some. And then I'd back up about 20 or 30 feet, and then we'd take the winch and wrap it around the tree, the base of the tree, and then winch the whole tree right out of the ground. So we would make the trail that way, and that way we didn't have any stumps. If you cut off the tree, right, and you have a little stump there or whatever, this way we got rid of the roots and everything. And so we used that to kind of bulldoze a trail out of the back way, out of our mountain place there, and had a lot of fun with that Rover. Heavy use piece. We use our stuff hard. We don't baby. But we take care of the gear. Don't get me wrong. We don't abuse it, but we don't baby our equipment. We use our gear, including our watches. Let's see here. Stig says, Craig, the Clasp is going to win in the long run, just as the Land Rover. I just went swimming with my sub, and it was cool. There you go. Kyle's in the house. He debated, but actually just took his old Datejust. There you go. Tim's in the house. Seamaster DeVille, not service to my knowledge. I suspect Dad stopped wearing it because the leather strap broke. Okay, interesting. Hi, sir. Hi, sir. Do you think box and papers for buying a used Grand Seiko are important? Well, I like to buy any of my watches new at this point, but if I'm not, I would prefer to buy it from the original owner. so that I know the full history. And it would be nice if that original owner has enough documentation to support that history. So sometimes box and papers and a receipt or something obviously is all helpful. Same thing with vehicles. An expensive used vehicle, I like to see all the documentation and know the history of that vehicle and make sure it hasn't been hit and fixed. All those kinds of things are all very important. How well it's been cared for. Of course, you want it, if it's a vehicle, you want it to have been garage kept since new. I love the bracelet on the Spectre, says, okay. I would swap bezel and put on strap, okay. When I go to Mexico City, I wear the Explorer. There you go, I don't blame you. Port blue alligator and red stitching from HG straps. Oh, cool. Cool. That's going to be cool. You got that coming, or what's the deal? Who's got the strap coming? My issue with Rolex is when overweight middle-aged guys who couldn't hike up a steep Walmart aisle buy heavy-duty sport watches and are afraid to take it in the pool. Submariner is now a delicate dress watch. I know, I don't get it. I mean, back in the day, the reason we put our sport watch on is we were doing something dangerous that was going to damage our gold stunner, right? The only reason I would take the date off is if I was doing something that was going to put it in harm's way, right? And so by definition, we'd be wearing those watches in a heavy use situation, right? Now, sometimes we found ourselves in a heavy use situation, believe it or not, and I still had the date on. And, it was not like I was going to take it off. I mean, if all of a sudden something's going on or whatever, and I mean, the date can handle it too. But, I mean, we just try to anticipate when we're going to be in those kind of situations, and we that day we'd be wearing the sport watch, but none of them got babied, and we didn't take them off and put them in our pocket. Now I will tell you that there might have been a time or two when I'd be working on a car or something like that, when I'm reaching down in and I'm literally going to really put the watch at risk, where I might take it off and put it in the pocket. But I can probably count on the fingers on one hand how many times I did that in 40 years, right? Took the watch off to baby it. Took it off maybe about 4 or 5 times in that many years, 40 years, right? So it ain't often. I spent the 4th in Vegas. If the virus was real, we would all be dead. Thousands of people packed together, shoulder to shoulder on the strip. There you go. Lance, if it's an Olympic, Omega, Speedmaster, if you are going Speedmaster, get a Speedmaster Moonwatch. I got mine pre-owned, almost new, for under $3,000 shipped with warranty. Nice, okay. Craig, come on, you could spend retail on a Rolex GMT. If you get the call, you'll buy it. Rolex at retail is fine. Triforce Rich. If I think I can flip it and make a profit, I might do that, but I'm not going to buy. I have no interest in buying it to wear because I just don't need it at this point. I'm gonna displace that 002 stunner with a steel Rolex. Are you kidding me? I mean, life's too short, folks. I'll just wear the 002 stunner, thank you. Carlos, I've resent the mail. Previous one was too big. Okay. Craig would buy the Pepsi, flip it, and buy Bitcoin and GS. Probably just buy Bitcoin with the profit. Absolutely, I would do that. If I think I can make money. Man, oh, damn, there's a bunch of emails here. I'm got to get caught up, folks. I got to get caught up. Okay. Here we go. Pretty cool kit. Yeah, see, I like the looks of this better than that goofy looking one. But again, I'm not a Speedmaster fan because I just don't need the chronograph function, right? But I mean, this is better looking than that one we saw a little while ago. Absolutely. Not even a close call. Okay, so let's look at the next one here. Wrist shot from Eduardo. Oh, look at this. Look at that. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Not hateful. Wrist shot from Eduardo. There you go. And Seamaster DeVille. Interesting. Yeah, that's going to look nice with a nice strap from HD Straps. Get him to make a nice custom strap for that puppy. And strap that puppy up. Absolutely. I think so. Nice to just stumble across that. Okay, here's some Grand Seiko pictures from Spain. Look at that. Looks like a nice display. Classy. Classy looking. Yep, that's where the puck is headed. We skate towards where the puck is going, and it's headed towards Grand Seiko, I'll tell you. It really is. Oh, look at that. Oh, Carlos. Oh, my goodness. Now, don't buy that one, but call Steve and let him ship one to you, because that is stunning on your wrist, Carlos. You've got a manly wrist, and that watch looks custom made for your wrist. That is stunning. Let's zoom in a little bit. Wow. Wow. All I can say is wow. That looks stunning. That could replace the Doxa. No question. That could replace the Doxa. And just wear that as your beater watch. That would be your ideal beater watch because it's very efficient. It winds easily. Doesn't need as much wrist time to stay wound. It's dead accurate. You don't have to worry about resetting it or anything. That would be the perfect heavy use watch to replace the Doxa and step up a few tiers in elegance and class. That is absolutely stunning, Carlos. Absolutely, positively, not unequivocally stunning. Stunning piece. Let's pull this up. Wow. I wonder if it's fake. 6,500. I wonder if it's fake. Rolex date. Oh, it's a 26 mil. Okay, that makes sense. So it's a lady's watch. So yeah, that makes sense. It looks like it's got some stretch to the bracelet also. So that probably explains the price. I hate when they want to do all that kind of stuff. Yeah, see, it's got some stretch. You can see it's got some stretch. Not terrible though. It's a President bracelet. It's cool. You know, you can get a lot of watch for a lady's watch. You can get a lot of watch for the money because they don't sell well used. They don't, because a lot of women don't want a used watch, and the guys, you know, doesn't want to piss them off by buying them a used watch, right? So the ladies' used watches are, in my opinion, harder to sell, and so you can get more watch for the money. Let's see. Triforce Rich says that is way more than 5K, which is more than 5K. Carlos, I've resent the mail. Okay, I read that. Okay. Okay, I read that one. Craig, my friend wanted to wander the streets of Rio de Janeiro with a Rolex Sea Dweller on his wrist. Sounds like a good idea to you. Make sure it's insured. Make sure it's insured. Tim's in the house. I've emailed you a picture of the Omega. Okay, we looked at that. Yeah, almost thought there wasn't going to be a show today. Kevin's in the house. Okay, and I have 3 cars. Want to have 7 for every day of the week. Okay. And Kevin says, question for the gang. Which vintage day-date models are the ones to look for? I believe there are 2 models that are popular. I think the 18238 is the sweet spot because it's modern enough that you can get it serviced if you need to, I think, without any real problem. It's going to have the quick change date feature. It's a great looking watch, and you can get a lot of watch for the money with the 18238, I think. Now, you can get even more watch for the money if you buy an older 1803. And I owned both. I owned an 1803, was the first date I had, and I loved it. And then it's a little more difficult to change the date and the day. You know, it's a little. It's doable. It's not that hard. But anyway, the quick change date, it makes it easier, right? The double quick set, they call it on the 18238. But in any event, yeah, conditions everything on the day dates, though. It really depends on the condition, whether you buy an 1803 or an 18238. 18238 is the one with the quick set, day and date. Yes, I call it double quick set. Carlos is in the house. Oh, well, I do not go to very dicey places. By the way, I had the feeling that Mexico City was quite safe, but it seems that is less safe than. But it seems that is less safe than it seems. Okay. Craig sent an email. Watch for Bree. Okay, I guess that's the one we just looked at. Deport TGV 2020. Craig, what is the best way to negotiate with little old ladies with garage kept Lexuses that only drive to get the groceries? That is the ideal car to buy, and that's the car you're going to be able to buy, because those are the people that bought Lexus, especially big Lexus sedans, like let's take a Lexus LS 460 or an LS 430 that's garage kept with low mileage. It's going to be an older couple or whatever that owned it, right? And what you do is you go there and you're very well dressed, you're very polite. You want to try to engineer it so she almost feels like she's adopting you. So she thinks that she's helping you out a little bit, right? By selling you this car, and that you're going to take extraordinary care of it. You know, you compliment her up one side and down the other on how well she's kept the car. And you want her to just gush over you. You want her to fall in love with you, and you'll get a good deal on the car. She'll be happy that she thinks somebody that really cares about it and whatever, you know, is getting it. It's going to a good home, if you will, right? That's the way to do it. That's the way to work it. I had a buddy of mine that was expert at that. I mean, he was expert at getting these little old ladies to fall in love with him. And he bought a bunch of Packards and different cars that way from the little old lady. He would chase them home. There was in Bethesda, Maryland, there was a mansion on MacArthur Boulevard. I think it was called Wildflower. Go ahead and Google it. And it was on MacArthur Boulevard, and there was a little old lady that lived there. Otis Lim was her name. Otis Lim. And she had a 1953 Packard Patrician that was factory air conditioned. I think I have a picture of it. And my friend, let me see. Let me do a time check while I pull this up. Packard. I'll try to find the car here. Just give me a moment here. Okay, here it is. Okay. So he saw Otis driving this car, Otis Lim, old woman. She was very elderly at the time. And this was probably in about 1975. So this was a 1953 Packard. So, you know, it was like 20 some odd years old. So use those scoops on the rear quarter panel. That denotes it's got factory air conditioning, right? Very rare in a 53 Packard. So this is a Packard Patrician, top of the line. So she was driving it, and he literally chased her home, followed her, and she went up this long driveway up to this estate on off of MacArthur Boulevard in Washington, D.C., and he followed her, and he somehow made contact with her and talked to her. She was a recluse. And make a long story short, he ended up getting the car. He ended up buying the car from her. She also had a Jeep Wagoneer that was also factory air conditioned. It was like about a 1968, I think, at the time. And it was factory air conditioned. and it had clear glass. The Patrician, by the way, when he bought it from her, it had clear glass also, but factory air. But he had tinted glass put in it so that the air conditioning would work better. But yeah, he routinely would do that. He'd see these little old ladies in Bethesda or Chevy Chase, these wealthy areas, right? Driving these old Cadillacs or whatever, an old Chrysler Imperial, and he would chase them down and and ingratiate himself to them. And then he had a pretty good success rate. He'd end up buying some of the cars. So yeah, that's how you do that. That's how you do that. Craig, putting Rolex on rubber B-straps is critical for travel overseas, less likely to be stolen. Okay. Deport TGV, tell her you pay this, and no question asked, and go. No issues, moment. Okay. Carlos, yeah, those pictures are fine. Other parts, not so much. My dad works on reform on something. Okay. A receipt for a GS is good. A box and paper is not really. The box is cheap as crap, and it will not increase it. Yeah, yeah. I don't. The only reason I care about, quote, box and papers, again, is to establish the pedigree of the item and that the person actually did buy it new, and so I know the history of the vehicle. I don't give a rat's rear end about having the box. I just want the documentation to establish that it's what it seems to be, right? Same thing with cars, right? I want to establish that it is what it seems to be. Like in this case of this Packard, she bought it new. She also, by the way, before she had that one, she had a 1941 Packard that also had factory air conditioning. Packard was one of the first companies to come out with factory air conditioning. And before the war, there was a 1941 Packard that had factory, it was an option. You could get factory air conditioning, and she had that. And she had that through the war and all that, and then after the war ended and all that, and 1953 came around, she got rid of her 1941 Packard and bought the 53, also with factory air conditioning. So there you go. That's how that whole thing works. A very wealthy woman. Let's see. Okay, back to the wheel and radio silence. Okay, because the bracelet is one of the most telltale ways to identify Rolex. The polished centerlink straws. Okay. Big box under 3K is a great deal. Okay, let's see. Craig sent you a link to Snoopy Speedmaster sells for nearly 40K. What do you think? Original retail. I think that's silly, but we'll take a look. That GS diver would be great for you. A great watch for Panama. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, let me go back. I'm way behind on the comments. I can see that. I can see I'm just not keeping up here, folks. So here's the Snoopy. Let's take a look here. Yeah, I mean, I don't even like the case design of it, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't even pay the, $5,000 for it or whatever. Wouldn't be for me. So yeah, I would pass on that one. Pass on that one. Let's see here. Oh, Eduardo, Dark Side of the Moon. Okay. Everybody's into these Speedmasters. And again, I mean, I just would have no interest in it. It wouldn't be something that I would wear. It looks like something you'd buy, it looks like some low-cost Casio or something. I mean, yeah, it just doesn't, yeah. Full pass on that one. Let's see here. Doug says pretty colors. Okay, Carlos. What color would the bezel or dial on the 231 have to be for you to buy it? 231, lovely on Carlos, but don't throw it in the pool. No, that he could throw that in the pool. That's a heavy use piece. That would handle the pool very nicely. He could throw that anywhere, really. That's a rugged piece. Carlos, Yes, I like my Doxa colors, and I purchased another yellow swimsuit today. Tim McDonald, 231 is ISO certified diver's watch. You should have more photos on my email. Okay, we'll take a look. Maybe those are the ones I already showed. Yeah, I'm way behind on this, on the comments here. Ladies like 36 millimeter now. Yeah, but Bree can't wear 36. Her wrists are too tiny. Neither can Leslie. Leslie's wrists are tiny too, so we need tiny watches for those two. Petite young ladies. Eduardo's in the house. That woman's president watch concerns me. Dial looks off. Okay. Carlos says okay. Yeah, I had my first reaction was that something didn't look quite right on that too. Triforce Rich. I just think GS looks better on dressier pieces. I prefer the Swiss aesthetic for sports watches. Rolex and Omega haven't done me wrong. For example, the 002 is stellar. Well, yeah. Look at that 002. Look at that puppy. It's insane. Carlos says Eduardo, 231 is a nice watch. Sits great on the wrist, but I have not any desire for it, honestly. Well, we'll work on you, Carlos. Cheetown's in the house. I recommend ES as the second best Lexus to get used behind the LS. More mature people buy ES and baby them, whereas younger people buy IS 300s and GS 300s. Yeah, well, if you buy the LS sedan, that's the one the old folks buy, the big sedan. Yeah, and they trash them to put ugly rims on them. Yeah, you don't want to buy from those wannabes. You want to buy from the real moneyed elite. That's what you want to do. Let's see. Craig, I sent you email pictures of Omega watch. I find quite interesting. Not a huge Omega fan, but the dial on that watch is something else. I don't know if it's the Dark Side of the Moon one. Yeah, I would pass on that if that's the one you're talking about. That probably is it. Okay. Let's see. I don't think story old people's car is best kept. Mostly in Europe, when we drive sticks, they don't bother to use clutch when the change of gear can be 10 miles. Yeah, but see, here's the thing. The Lexus is going to be automatic, and it's going to be kept in a garage since new, and it's going to be babied and be super low mileage, and you're going to get a cream puff if you follow that regiment. Kyle's in the house. Eduardo, where do you live? Also, did Brett connect with you for the BTC? He will if he hasn't yet. Okay. Your friend was a real charmer to follow that lady up her driveway. LOL. The senior ladies I know would have pulled a pistol from their bags. I know. I mean, that was definitely risky. That was definitely risky business. But for an air-conditioned Packard, sometimes you have. Usually he would run them down. They're pulling into like a shopping center to go shopping or something, and he'd park next to them, and he would just like compliment them on their car, and then he'd try to get a little conversation going, and then of course he'd say how nice their hair was that day and stuff. He was a charmer, I'll tell you, and he knew how to talk to the little old ladies. He had a good success rate. He did. Now he would never tell me about the times that he got hit upside the head with their purse, right? He wouldn't share that information, but he came up with some cars. He came up with some nice ones. So that's how I got my 69 Eldorado, my Cadillac Eldorado that had 22,000 original miles on it. A couple was driving it down Georgia Avenue, and I saw them and I followed them, and they pulled into their housing community, and I talked to them, and I just gave them my card. And I just said, if you would ever consider selling this, I love the car. It's beautiful. You've really kept it well. I just introduced myself, and believe it or not, a few weeks later, they freaking called me and said, well, we have been thinking about getting a new car. And at the time, theirs was 10 years old, had 22,000 miles on it. And so I ended up buying that, and I also ended up buying a Cutlass convertible from them. They had a Cutlass convertible that was also very low mileage. I ended up buying that from them as well. So, Cadillac. See if I can pull up a picture of the Cadillac. See if it's in here. I know it's in here, I just don't know how I have it labeled. Let's do a time check while I pull this puppy up. Yeah, here's the Eldorado. The Eldorado, that's the original tires on that puppy. And I bought that in about 79, 1979-ish. And so it was 10 years old, and it had 22,000 miles on it. Original tires. Drove it out to Tulsa, Oklahoma, out to the auction, and sold it. There it is being sold. Paid $3,000 for it from the couple, and it ended up selling for $5,600 at the auction. So nice little profit. Bought a couple of nice cashmere sport coats while I was in Tulsa there. Still have them. And yeah, so that's how that whole thing goes. Let's see what else is going on. We're going to wrap this puppy up. We're coming up on 6 o'clock, folks. That's an amazing story of getting cars and of some hip young fellows taking advantage of poor elderly ladies. Yeah, the ladies enjoyed it, though. They enjoyed the attention, and, you know, like I say, they thought that they were helping somebody out, right? And you know, we got decent buys on the vehicles. I mean, now I'll tell you, one Mercedes that I got that was a 300D. Yeah, let me see if I tagged it. Let me see if I can pull it up. This was an amazing story. The 300D, let's see if this is it. It's a dove gray. Yeah, I think that's it. That's the 76 300D. Not a very good photo of it. But that vehicle had 56,000 miles on it. I bought that in the mid-'80s. I want to say around 85 or so. Again, about 10 years old. This is the theme on these things. You get them about 10 years old, super great condition, low mileage. This one, the woman lived in a beautiful apartment complex down in D.C. at the Calvert Street Bridge. The Shoreham Hotel also had apartments in it at the time, and she had an apartment in there, and this thing was down in the basement, down in the parking garage, the Mercedes, and she called me to appraise it, and I was a professional appraiser at the time, and I went there and I appraised it, and she paid me for the appraisal, and I appraised it at the full market value. Now, the car had not run for a couple of years. It had been sitting down in the parking garage. It had usually been at her place in Arizona. She had a farm in Arizona, a ranch or whatever, and it had usually been there. It was totally rust-free. These had a rust problem, by the way. This one was totally rust-free because it had spent most of its life in Arizona. Had all the original exhaust that was still like exhaust color. You know, it was immaculate. And the damn car had 56,000 original miles on it. And it was leaking some oil when it was in Arizona before she took it up to her place in D.C. It was leaking some oil, and the technician said, well, this is just normal for a diesel. It's just leaking a little bit. You don't have to worry about it. It's still low mileage. It's fine. Don't worry about it. She said, no, I want it fixed. I don't want it leaking anything. So they put a Target engine in it. They put a brand new Mercedes diesel, 5-cylinder diesel engine in the damn thing at vast cost. And so even though the car had 56,000 miles on it, the engine had like 5,000 miles on it. It was like brand new, right? That was insane that she even did that, right? So anyway, I praised the car, told her what it was worth, and then she says, okay, so how do I get rid of it? I said, you can put an ad in the Washington Post, you can advertise it, and somebody will come and buy it. Yeah, I want to sell it as is, where is, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. I just want it out of here. And I said, well, best thing to do is put an ad in the Washington Post, and you'll get some offers. And so, well, I don't want people coming here. I don't want people bothering me. what will you give me for it? And just take care of this problem. I just want this car gone, right? So I said, well, ma'am, I said, I don't even need it. I said, so I'm going to make a low ball offer. You don't want to give this car away. This car's a nice car, right? Even though it hadn't been started for a couple of years, I think you put a battery in it, it'll fire up, it'll be fine. But whoever buys it is taking a little risk, right? But it's going to be fine. It's sitting in the garage. Oh, well, I want it out of here, blah, 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 right? So anyway, so I said, well, listen, I'll tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll absolutely give you $600 for the car, and I'll take the risk. If it's got a locked up engine or it doesn't start or whatever, I mean, it's on me. I'll give you $600 for the car, but that's way under the value of the car. And, the car's probably worth closer to, I appraised it, I think, at like $5,500. And I said, you're selling the car cheap. You're wholesaling it. Done, right? She says, done. So, I mean, what can I tell you? I mean, I gave her the money. My buddy really knows Mercedes backwards and forwards. I got him to come over there. We jump started it. It started up. It ran fine. It was like brand new. The engine and everything, it was like perfect. It needed freaking a cleanup. That's all it needed was a little cleanup. And it was jumping up and down, gorgeous. I drove that car for a couple of years, had a sunroof, automatic. Drove it for a couple of years. And I was driving it around doing the appraisals, and a guy that saw it, he said, how much do you want for it? And at the time, I think it had 70,000 miles on it. I'd put some mileage on it. Still very low mileage for one of those diesels, right? So he says, that's a gorgeous 300D. What will you sell it for? I said, it's not for sale. I said, I'm driving it. I use it for my appraisals, I mean, it's my car. And he says, listen, he says, what will you take for it today? And I said, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, if you have to have it, I'll sell it to you for $7,400. So he said, done. So he gave me $7,400 for it, and I hit him with the keys and title, and that was how that whole deal worked out. So that's how some of those deals work out. So that's what we got going on here. Deport says a lot of those little ladies, I got to clear out these comments and we got to go. I got to eat. I'm hungry. A lot of those little ladies are no longer able to maintain the car. Yeah, Lexus with Mark Levinson system. I like thick women, says Eduardo. No skin and bones, not a well. And Deport says, I like thin and perky Asian women. There you go. Let's see. Deport, I hear you. I agree with Deport on this one. They only get thicker as they age, not the other way around. There you go. Good point, Kyle. He's saying the silent part out loud. Let's see. But so do we, though. Not if you take care of yourself. Not if you exercise and take care of yourself. You can keep yourself in good shape. Carlos is in the house. I assume Megan will show up at any time. Craig doesn't grow fat, LOL. Well, see, the reason that I try to keep about the same size is I'm too cheap to buy all new clothes. Can you imagine if I put on weight? My whole wardrobe would be like obsolete. I'd have to buy everything all over again. That would be insane. First of all, some of the stuff is very hard to even get anymore. And it would cost a lot of money. And so, no, I mean, that's just not an option. It's just not an option for me to increase in size so that none of my stuff will fit me. He cannot buy KFC using Bitcoin. That is why he's slim. Lamont greater than Megan. Did Lamont die? Both are part of this bizarre zoo, as I am. No, Carlos, you're a permanent fixture. Kyle's in the house. Gotta love our group. Craig, what classic American car would you pair with a yellow gold 36 millimeter Date 8? Oh, that's easy. Definitely a Cadillac. Let me pull one up here. Okay. Okay. So I just went to my Flickr and just search keyword Cadillac on my photos, right? So that Cadillac, that 77 executive limousine, 7-passenger sedan, that would be a good one. That 41 Cadillac that Ralph Bennett is rubbing down right there. He was a senior editor for Reader's Digest magazine, by the way, Ralph Bennett, and that's a 41 Caddy that he's buffing there. That 65 Cadillac Fleetwood sedan, 65 Fleetwood, that would be appropriate for wearing a day date and driving. Of course, the Eldorado that we mentioned earlier, that 69 Eldorado with super low mileage, that would work. The 61 Caddy there, the black 4-door hardtop, that would be okay. And of course, the 1958 Eldorado Brougham with the suicide doors and with mouton carpets and a stainless steel roof. That's extremely rare, by the way. That would work. The 71 Cadillac Fleetwood Brougham right there with the window down. That one would work. And there's just some more photos of the same ones. And so, yeah, any of those caddies would be good with a solid gold Rolex. An Imperial LeBaron would work too. An Imperial with dual air conditioning. That would work. A 1964 Imperial LeBaron with dual air, or 65, either one. The 65 has the solid glass covers over the headlights. They look kind of cool. I was going to say 63 Buick Riviera. Absolutely, the Riviera would work. I saw a video where Jay Leno bought a 72 Mercedes 300 SEL with 300,000 miles, and he was going to swap the engine, but then decided against it since it was still running strong. Well, there you go. Cadillac was originally in the Ford group. Weird. Oh, interesting. People have cars to get rid of on driveway. New Mercedes park they sell or give for free if you find. Okay, there you go. Lots of old history. If Craig did this stuff, now he'd have a reality show crew filming him for Netflix. Eduardo, in a city near me, there's a guy who lives in a normal house, normal medium income neighborhood, and has a Lamborghini Countach in the driveway. You know, we used to see some cars sitting in driveways. Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I bought a 1963 Chevy Impala 4-door hardtop sedan, loaded. It was loaded to the freaking gills. It had tilt wheel, it had power windows, it had power seat, it had factory air conditioning. It had the 327 V8, which meant it also had the dual exhaust. That was a cool car, and it was a low mileage car. It had about 50,000 miles on it at the time. This was in like the early 80s that I bought it. It was 1963. And it was sitting outside, and it had some damage to the paint on the top surfaces because it sat under a tree and stuff fell on it and kind of sat on the paint, right? So some of the top surfaces needed to be redone, but all the rest of it was original paint that was still really good. And it had not sat outside for too terribly long, so it was still rust-free. And I got a really good buy on that one, and I drove that for a number of years, and then I sold it to a buddy of mine here nearby who was an old friend of mine, and we're still friends, and he kept it for many, many years. He just sold it like a year or two ago. That was a fantastic car. So yeah, we got a few cars that were like that were sitting somewhere, but most of the cars we got, we tried to get garage kept cream puffs is what we really were after. And because I grew up in a very affluent area, there were a lot of garages, and there were a lot of really nice cars hidden away in some of those garages that sometimes you could, get a deal on if you were lucky. So that's how that whole thing worked. Can we bait Craig to do 15 minutes more? I'm trying to get caught up on the damn comments. R. Wags is in the house. Chip, you're hilarious. I love the 300D story. Have a great tenor. I admit to being late. Okay. Hey, I told the woman, I said, listen, you could get a lot more money for the car. She was filthy rich. She didn't care. She just wanted the damn thing out of the parking spot, right? So that's how that whole thing worked. Megan's in the house. I admit to being late. Okay, I'm trying. uh, do you want to join Craig's entourage? You could be the next Beeford Dance. By the way, how come Megan doesn't have a wrench? Has she ever asked for a wrench? How come she doesn't have a wrench? She's here often enough. Why hasn't anybody nominated Megan for a wrench, for God's sakes? She should have a wrench. She should have a Johnny Come Lately wrench. Okay, join Craig's entourage. There you go. Where are the tryouts? Tryouts are right here, Megan. Absolutely, you're in. Let's see. Carlos says, Megan, tell us about what you do well. Maybe I shouldn't have asked this. Remember those 60s Fleetwood that had power side vents plus the footrests? Yeah. Well, yeah, in a let me think. 66, the 1966 Fleetwood Brougham had the 4 power vent windows. The one that I had, the 65, this one had them too. Okay, let me pull it up here. That one had 4 power vent windows. You can see them in this picture. There's a vent window there and a vent window in the back, right? Those were all power operated, right? But that's a 65. The 66 had the picnic tables in the back. It had the picnic tables that folded down in the back, which was nice. And so, yeah, we had both. We loved those cars. We grabbed those cars whenever we could. A Fleetwood Brougham, because you could get a lot of car for the money, because that was a car that nobody wanted at the time, right? When we were buying those, again, 10 years later, right, 65, we'd be buying them in like 75, 76, 77, 78, around that time, 1980, right? We'd be buying those cars, and nobody wanted them. Nobody wanted those big sedans, and we loved them. We ate them up. So yeah, we would, if we could stumble across a cream puff. That one had that one right there in that picture. That had very low mileage. I don't remember the mileage on that puppy. I think it was around 50,000 miles. And it had the cloth interior, which was super, super comfortable. A lot of them had the leather, of course, which was also nice. But the cloth was very comfortable in those. Here, you can actually see it in this picture. Those seats were so thick. I mean, they were so thick. Even the back part that you leaned back against was super, super thick. And you talk about comfortable to take a road trip. See, we took a lot of road trips, folks. We would not hesitate to pile 4 of us in the car and head up to New York to do some shopping or something, or, you know, just hit the road. And those things, you could run up and down the highway at 100 miles an hour all day long and not even think about it. My 71 Cadillac Fleetwood was really nice. I mean, I ran the hell out of that one, the 71. Pull that one back up again. And here's the 71. And I was actually driving that on Wisconsin Avenue in Bethesda, and I had the cell phone next to me. No, it wasn't that one. It was a 68, that way, that's right. When I had that crash, I was in the 68 Bonneville Brougham that was also loaded. I had a 68 Bonneville Brougham with the 428 engine in it and dual exhaust. It was loaded to the freaking gills. And I wrecked that one on Wisconsin Avenue. I was driving up Wisconsin Avenue near the country clubs, right near the Chevy Chase Club, and I swear I'm going north on Connecticut Avenue in the Brougham, and somebody pulls out of one of the side streets, and they turn to go north, and then they immediately turned right in front of the Bonneville, and I just creamed them. And they were in a Chevy Chevette, a little Chevy Chevette, and they were a student driver. Tore that Chevette up. They were okay, thank God. But you know, I had the cell phone on the seat in the Bonneville Brougham next to me, and it fell on the floorboards. And I kind of got shook up just a little bit, right? And the first thing I did was I reached for the cell phone. This was, of course, back when nobody had a cell phone. This was like 1980, right? The middle of 1980. They just started doing the tests in the Baltimore, Washington area, so I had one of the first cell phones ever made. So anyway, picked that sucker up, and the first thing I did was I called my lawyer. I said, damn, I said, my Brougham just got wiped out. So a buddy of mine put a whole front clip on that sucker, patched it up, and it was back going again. Wonder if I've got a picture of that Bonneville. That thing was awesome. I don't think I have a picture of it. Oh, I do. These suckers are rare. This sucker was rare, man. And what was rare about this thing is it was loaded to the brim. I mean, first of all, a Bonneville Brougham is super rare anyway. Super rare anyhow, right? And then this thing had tilt, cruise. I think it even had the ultronic eye. It had every freaking option. And it had the 428, and you can't really tell in that picture, but it had dual exhaust. And it had 22,000 miles on it when I bought it. It was super, super low mileage. One owner, cream puff. And talk about a comfortable, freaking cool car, because that was a four-door hardtop, right? So you could get the hardtop effect. And that was a fun, I drove that one for a couple of years. That would be a good one. The Date 8 showed up nice in that one, the black interior. And it had like, almost like the seats were almost like silk, the fabric. And just super, super comfortable. So I drink you boys under the table. Hey, I'm trying to wrap this show here. What's up with all these comments in here? There's comments after 6 o'clock. Come on, guys. That's not fair. Megan wouldn't show up early enough to wrench anyone. Wait, did we? Are we going to give her a wrench? Thanks. I know how to flaunt my womanly ways. Okay, I get. Well, let me know. Are we going to give her a wrench? Okay, support. Okay, maybe Craig is going to get his price finally for that 005. Who wants the 005? Does somebody want the 005? Oh, don't forget the bubble bath photo shoot. Uh-oh. Let's see here. It's okay. I got to get caught up here, folks. Got to wrap this puppy up. Craig must have taken away beer service wrench. Then he snuck back as Megan in order to regain status. LOL said, I've watched old vids of Craig's. You're referred to as B-Serve in those, but your name appears as Deport TGV. You don't need genius IQ to figure that out. Okay, Craig, do I really get a wrench? Okay, let's give Megan a wrench. I'm going to give her a wrench. I'm going to make a command decision here. Mr. Q, we're almost done here. We just kept Craig talking. Let's see, Megan, would you send pics to Craig for your audition? LOL, you've got to meet Audrey and Bree standards, but I have a feeling you may qualify. Ha. Let's see, don't tell. Okay. Was there a show yesterday? No, there wasn't a show yesterday. Let's see, you mean all I had to do to get a wrench to show up late? Instead, I spent $4K to do an unboxing. I enjoy the watch. Okay. Carlos has announced, I think we are starting to go too deep on the slippery slope. Get into a wreck, and the first person you call was your lawyer. New Jersey would be proud of you, Craig. Well, hell yeah. I mean, I was concerned because I had a very rare car that was super low mileage, and I knew that you know, they would try to give me, you know, I was a professional appraiser, for God's sakes. I knew they'd try to lowball me if they totaled it. Fortunately, they didn't total it. I got it. I did get it fixed, but still it was a fixed wreck, so I collected for diminution in value. So, yeah, there's that whole thing. Carlos, I think, okay. Carlos Allison, one was Slipley, okay. Megan was really hot in the 1990 movie Superstar. Mr. Q, any of these fine automobiles have the hand-grafted Corinthian leather? Yes, I was. The good old... Okay, by the way, Craig, saw your dad's post, and it seems like he wants you to get remarried. Maybe you'd ask Megan out. Well, you know, he's obsessed, with me getting married. Absolutely, he is. But that probably is not going to happen, unfortunately. I'd like to make Dad happy, but can't go there. Craig, if you compare old cars with modern, what strikes you when drive? Forget technology, radio, GPS, drive, feeling. Well, it was a whole different thing. I mean, it's apples and oranges. Like those old Fleetwoods and all, they're really heavy and, but they, I still think like a new LS sedan. I don't like the looks of the new one, but let's go back to the LS 460. I think that's a better car all the way around than any of those old cars. But those old cars, there's just something cool about them. It's hard to put, you know, to wrap your head around it, but there's just something cool about some of those old luxury cars, those big Cadillacs, the big Lincolns, the even the big Imperials, some of them. There's just something kind of cool about them that is hard to describe. So, you know, the pluses and minuses, obviously. We're comparing really apples to oranges, but they're cool. Back in the day, it was the way to do. It was the way to go, I think. Let's see here. I just got in here. Oh, Derek. Somebody buy the 005 now. Craig will extend the show. Chip wrong ascended. Uh-oh. Megan has longer than medium. Okay. Hey, Craig, not sure if this was covered in a previous show, but I reached out to Limer and Peter replied with news that they do still make customs. Well, that's good. That's very good news that they do that. I bet you there's a long wait list. And by the way, he's no spring chicken anymore. He's getting up there in the years. I think he has an apprentice that might be taking over for him. But my guess is there's a long wait list. But I'll tell you what, I think they're worth it. I think they're worth waiting on. They're super, super cool boots. Hashtag bait. We'll do. I feel lucky now. I really feel like a member of the team now, fellas. And well, hope maybe you'll come in earlier next time. Cheetown's in the house. Craig is married to BTC, and that's a marriage to last. That's long-term thinking, folks. BTC, long-term thinking. Traverse Rich, you can get married, Craig. We just need to find you a woman that is more wealthy than you. At your age, you're a decent amount of wealthy women. You are successful and in shape. That's right. We need to find somebody with money. Absolutely. No doubt. Absolutely. Actually, I have an old girlfriend that lives down in Florida that's very wealthy. That is a possibility. So we can make this happen. Okay. Did we talk about the day date? Yeah, Derek. Yeah, we talked about day dates extensively. Where were you? Nothing ready to gain from marriage except live and maid and cook. Congratulations, Megan. Welcome. Okay. Some don't even want to cook or clean these days. What do you have then? Kyle's in the house saying the quiet thing out loud. Something tells me Craig is only into 20-somethings, women that hula hoop and work out, not old ladies at Triforce Rich. Well, I mean, there's something to said for extremely attractive, fit young ladies. Absolutely. There's something to be said for that. Okay, we're going to wrap on that note. By the way, speaking of extremely attractive, fit young ladies, go ahead and support the lovely Bree, BreeFitDance.com, BreeFitDance.com. there you go. Go there and find out how you can help her create more content. Brooks Brothers grossed $990 million last year, filed for bankruptcy today. There you go. Yeah, some people were trying to buy them and they're trying to do a deal, but it is what it is. So, unfortunately, like I said earlier, they strayed away from the really high quality stuff a long time ago, so they kind of lost me as a customer, generally speaking. Again, some of those shoes, some of those Peel and Company shoes, which are actually Crockett and Jones, those are something to look at if you can get a deal on those. But a lot of the other Brooks Brothers stuff, not so much. All right, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Click subscribe and click the little bell for notifications.